So I'm not sure, but I think maybe more appropriate way to answer that question would be if we see a ratio between silver to gold really break down and get into somewhere below the 40-to-1 range. I think you would see a lot of people sell silver and shift to gold. And because I think when you reclassify gold as a tier 1 reserve asset, and you see the central banks buying gold, not to diminish silver whatsoever. I think it's the most undervalued asset on the planet. I think it's the play of a generation. But
dive into the world of precious metals with Andy Schectman as he uncovers a pivotal insight. Explore the silver to gold ratio, its potential impact on investments, and the allure of silver's undervalued potential. Discover how the interplay between these metals could reshape the market's landscape. Join us as we explore the strategic interplay between silver and gold, contemplating the factors that could lead to strategic reallocations in this ever-evolving market. Let's listen to Andy Schectman again.
Is the nature of this market where there is a piece of information that comes out like consumer confidence fell? Well, duh. You can see that we're in a period of time where there's strain on the consumer with inflation and higher prices, and the economy is slowing down in a very big way. But is that enough to make silver go skyward? The question is, does the conventional wisdom, does that say, well, worse than expected consumer sentiment, so silver should go to the moon? In other words, is there something behind the scenes that is bigger than that information, or is that information kind of the cover to run for showing the positioning of the commercial banks in a very bullish stance? So I've been expecting this blow off, and I think it's going to continue to go higher, in my own opinion, based upon the positioning of where the most informed traders in the world are, and that is net long in futures. So yeah, whatever the reason is, I'm glad to see it. It's long overdue, and I would anticipate that this run is not over yet. I think it's just beginning. The Western system has suppressed gold and silver forever to support the bond market, to create the illusion of strength in a dollar and in a system that perhaps was starting to show cracks. And in 1980, it was easy to brush off. In 2011, it wasn't easy, but it was easier to brush off than it is now, where you have an increasing debt burden, and as rates rise high enough, you blow up the entire system. So they don't have those tools in their toolbox anymore. And the fact that it is slowly, methodically rising, to me, is much, much, much more encouraging than something that goes straight up to the moon in a hockey stick fashion immediately, because those runs are typically never sustained. You want to see something slow and methodical that continues to build. And to your point, which is very, very, it's articulate, and it's also, the word I'm looking for is escaping me. It's very thought-provoking as far as I'm concerned. And, it just shows that you're looking at this the right way. You're right. If you go back and look, you've never seen silver move in this way, where it continues to move higher and higher and higher and backfill and higher and higher and backfill. Typically, we see these massive spike moves, but I think it's more encouraging to see it this way. When you put into the equation that the commercial banks are now net long, now does that mean that they'll be net long and that they won't short a rising price? That's really where the rubber meets the road, is that if the commercial banks do not short this market as it continues to move higher, then we know it's the real deal, because that's been their mantra. They're the only idiots, and they're not really idiots because they have enough money and they know what they're doing, to short a rising market. Typically, you short a falling market. Shorting a rising market tells me that they are trying to manipulate the managed money again. They've hoodwinked the managed money into going very, very, very short. And when you look at the amount of silver that is literally disappearing off of COMEX and off of SLV, when you read the ETF, BlackRock, or the SLV ETF prospectus, and look at the note that BlackRock sent out a couple of years ago, they said, hey, by the way, for all of you that decide to short SLV, there could become a time where you can't get the bars to cover it. And kind of a warning in the sands, if you will. We are entering a period of time where being short in this market is incredibly dangerous. So although we are seeing it move up and up and up in a methodical fashion, there certainly is that rocket fuel there that could push it higher. But this time, the question is, will they stop it? Do they want to stop it? And even if they do, how? You can't raise rates to stop it like Volcker did. And in terms of what they did to the Hunt brothers, maybe they changed the rules. I don't know. I look at it as very bullish. To me, you want slow and methodical. You want the tortoise. You don't want the hare. The hare runs out of breath and collapses like we saw in 11 and like we saw in 08. But we want a slow, steady base build that continues to build strength underneath it in an environment where physical silver is becoming impossible to get at that level. So I find it. So I'm not sure, but I think maybe more appropriate way to answer that question would be if we see a ratio between silver to gold really break down and get into somewhere below the 40-to-1 range. I think you would see a lot of people sell silver and shift to gold. And because I think when you reclassify gold as a tier 1 reserve asset, and you see the central banks buying gold, not to diminish silver whatsoever. I think it's the most undervalued asset on the planet. I think it's the play of a generation. But you could argue that a lot of people are holding large amounts of silver and playing this gold to silver ratio. I think that would pull just as many people out of silver and incite them to sell and switch to gold as you would seeing silver breach 50. I think you could look at either one of those outcomes or both of them, and you would see some selling in silver. But typically, most of the people, I'll be straight with you, I haven't had those discussions with either of my two very large clients who have these huge portfolios there, or any of my clients really finding a number. And I will also add to that this is why they say there is no bull market like a metals bull market, Chris, because using conventional wisdom, if this was Apple stock or whatever it was, and we reach that bar, that level where, we're in rarefied air, yeah, you'd be foolish to not want to sell it, take some gain, maybe leave some of the initial investment there and reallocate your money into something of better value. But when it comes to metals, the higher the price go, it only reinforces people's mentality employed as to why they bought it in the first place. And the higher the price goes actually frightens people more that, geez, I was right. The dollar's in trouble. The world's accumulating silver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's the opposite. The higher it goes makes you more concerned and frightened that, geez, I was right all along, that things are not looking good. So it's not about making a profit as much as it is saving your ass. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates a precious metals bull market from a traditional bull market, because traditional bull market, it's about making profit. This side of the thing, of the coin, where you're talking metals bull market, it's about validation that the world is in trouble and you're less likely to want to dump it at that level. So it's an interesting phenomenon altogether. In a very long answer, I think it's either above $50, you'd see a lot of selling or certainly interest in it. But more so, I think the ratio between gold and silver breaching 40, you would see a lot of people shifting to gold.
As we conclude this thought-provoking discussion led by Andy Schectman, the intricate relationship between silver and gold comes into sharper focus. The potential shifts in market dynamics and investment strategies underscore the dynamic nature of precious metals. Stay informed, stay empowered, and continue to explore the ever-changing world of financial opportunities. Thank you for joining us on this journey of insights and exploration. Keep watching and sharing videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe.